Hello NinBuzz, how are you guys doing today? My name is Shadow of Resho Gaming, and I'm here today to bring you the newest episode of Community Choice. Last week we asked you guys what your favorite RareWare game was, of course in honor of Platonic's newest game, Ukulele. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the results. Coming in at number 5, we have Banjo-Tooie at 8% of the votes. Banjo-Tooie, of course, is the sequel to the original game Banjo and Kazooie. The game's set 2 years after the original game after you defeat Gruntilda. Gruntilda's sisters come to rescue her, and she is freed, so you have to go and battle her again along with her sisters. Banjo-Tooie plays much like the original game does. It's a collect-a-thon where you're trying to get as much Jiggies as possible to advance to the next area, all the way to the final boss. Of course, you have some of the same power-ups, you have some awesome new power-ups that go along with it. In my opinion, this game's an overall improvement from the original game, but I do understand why the original game is a lot more special in people's hearts than the second one, but I personally like the second one a lot more than the first one. Alright, moving on to the number 4 spot, we have Donkey Kong Country at 10% of the votes. Donkey Kong Country is a 2D side-scrolling game. The main plot of Donkey Kong Country is that King K. Rool stole all of the Kong's bananas, so they had to go and get them back because they're monkeys, and that's about as deep as a plot as you're gonna get from Donkey Kong. The cool thing about this game is that you actually got to control Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. The world's kind of laid out like a new Super Mario Bros. Where you go from world to world, there's a boss in the world, and your goal is to get to the very end. But what's really cool about some of the levels is you actually get help from animal friends. Like there's Rambi the Rhino, there's like an ostrich, I think there's a parrot called Squeaks or Squawks. And one final really cool bit is they actually had multiplayer, so you could play alternatively between 2 different people together, or you can compete, which was a really cool feature just because the game had so much packed into it already. Alright, coming into number 3, we have Donkey Kong 64 at 17% of the votes. Too bad it wasn't 64%, but oh well. The plot in Donkey Kong 64 is a little bit more advanced than Donkey Kong Country. King K. Rool wants to pretty much kill Donkey Kong and all of his friends, so he gets a giant laser to kill them, but it malfunctions. So to save him some time while he fixes it, he kidnaps all of Donkey Kong's friends and his golden bananas, for whatever reason. So you start out as Donkey Kong, and you go along trying to save all the rest of the Kongs, but what was really cool about Donkey Kong 64 is once you saved those other Kongs, they became playable characters, so you could go through the levels as those characters, and they could do various other things that other Kongs couldn't do. Personally though, my favorite part of this game was the multiplayer mode. Multiplayer kind of turns into like a third-person shooter, where you go around as the Kongs, or you can be one of the Kremlings. You have a certain amount of lives, and if you take all the other players out, you win. It's pretty simple. That was just personally one of my favorite parts of the whole game. I know I played that a lot more than the main storyline for some reason. Alright, moving on to the number 2 spot, we have Conker's Bad Fur Day at 20% of the votes. Conker's Bad Fur Day was a game that was pushed in a totally different direction. It's probably one of the most adult games Rare's ever done, but it's also probably one of the best they've ever done. The game centers around Conker, where he gets lost in a mysterious land after drinking a lot the last night, and basically the main point of the game is just to return home. But since it's a Conker game, it's not that easy. There's Panther Kings that want to use you as a table leg, there's giant pieces of poop that want to kill you. It's one of the wackiest adult games I've ever seen. The game is super dark, but is insanely funny. If you haven't seen or heard about this game, I would definitely recommend checking it out. You know, granted you're not 13 or whatever, because it is definitely worth it. Now finally, coming in at number 1, if you haven't guessed it already, it's Banjo and Kazooie at 40% of the votes. Banjo-Kazooie is the first game in the Banjo-Kazooie series. The main plot centers around Tootie, Banjo's younger sister, getting kidnapped by Gruntilda because she wants to steal her beauty with some machine that she's built. So Banjo and Kazooie have to go and rescue her by scaling the giant spiral mountain and going through level to level until they reach Gruntilda's base at the top of the mountain. Like Banjo-Tooie, Banjo-Kazooie is a collect-a-thon game where you have to collect Jiggies and music notes and a whole bunch of other crap to help you progress through the game. This is probably one of Rare's best-selling, best in general games, which I guess that explains why Ukulele has already got $2 million worth of Kickstarter funds. But let's just put that behind us and move on to next week's question. The question I'm going to be asking you guys this week is, what is your favorite Nintendo heroine? Not the drug, but you know, like the lady heroes. Basically, I just want to know who is your favorite lady character from any Nintendo game. So Zelda, Samus, Peach, Crystal, Midna, Wii Fit Trainer. Any female character from the Nintendo series will do, just leave that down in the comments below, and I will answer it next week on the new community choice. But before you head out, just remember, if you haven't subscribed to NinBuzz already or followed them on Twitter, we produce content on a regular basis, so if you want to know when we actually have new content out, make sure you subscribe and follow us on Twitter so you know when all of that gets pumped out. And if you like my sweet, lovely voice, you can follow me on Twitter or subscribe to my personal channel at Resho Gaming. I do a lot of Let's Plays and weird vlog stuff, and that's really all I ever do. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share and like this video with all of your friends, and I will see you guys next week on the new community choice.